Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I wanted to start off a new mini-series called Simple Stock Market Definitions. In this series of videos, I'm going to go through various stock market terms and concepts and do my best to explain them in a simple and easy to understand way. So keep an eye out and subscribe for more upcoming stock market definition videos. If you're new to investing or maybe you're studying business, then keep watching as I'm going to explain in this video what a dividend is. Also, if you're looking to grow passive income, then dividends are a great way of doing this. So make sure you watch the second half of the video to get an explanation of how dividends can help you grow your passive income. So in business and investing, dividend is a term that's really commonly used in reference to huge companies that you can buy on the share market. But what does this actually mean? According to the Oxford Dictionary online, a dividend is a sum of money paid regularly, typically annually, by a company to its shareholders out of its profits or reserves. So maybe that kind of makes sense, but here's a really basic example. Imagine I went into business with a friend and we created a lawn mowing company. At the end of the year, when we've both mowed hundreds of lawns each, we've made lots of money, we want to be able to reward ourselves with a bit of extra cash that's on top of our regular salaries. Since we've both worked equally hard mowing lawns and we both own half the company each, we'd split the decided amount 50-50. So say we earned an extra $10,000 in profits by the end of the year, then we each take $5,000 each as a dividend. And then the same thing if there were 4 people, we'd split it into quarters and so on. This form of dividend payment is actually really common in small companies with only a handful of owners. But the second form of dividend payments is what applies to you and applies to me, and is a way of growing your passive income. This form of dividends is payments made by publicly listed companies. So when a company becomes really huge, sometimes it will become publicly listed. What this basically means is that the company will be put onto a share market so that anyone can buy or sell part ownerships of that company. So going back to my previous example, imagine that my lawn mowing business grew so large that me and my friend decided to list it on the share market. What this would mean would be that basically anyone in the public can come along and buy into part ownership of our business. Put it into really simple terms, imagine we put a sign in a front lawn saying, "Come and be a part owner of our lawn mowing business today." Anyone can walk in off the street and buy a 1% stake, 2% stake, 5% stake, depends how much money they have, and become a part owner of our lawn mowing business. And I get to decide how much I'm going to charge for each percentage ownership of my company. So in the stock market, how this works is big companies divide up the ownership rights of the company into small parts or contracts, and these are called shares. So again, going back to my previous example, imagine Joe Bloggs from down the street comes up and sees my sign on my front lawn and decides that he really wants to buy into my company because he thinks it's going to grow and be more successful into the future. So he decides to buy a 5% ownership stake in my business. Now, because I actually charged him a decent amount of money for that 5%, I don't actually expect him to just start working and mowing lawns. Instead, what I'm going to do with that money that he invested into my company, I'm going to use that money to buy new equipment, buy new lawnmowers, hire new staff, improve and grow the business. And in return for Joe Bloggs giving me his money to help me grow my business, he expects a reward. And this reward can be paid as a dividend. And since he now owns 5% of the company, he's entitled to 5% of the decided dividend payment. So this would mean that me and my current owner would be entitled to 47.5% of the dividend payment each, and then the remaining 5% would go to Joe. So going back to the share market, imagine that a company decides to put out 1,000 parts of ownership of its company, so 1,000 shares. I can come along and buy 100 shares or 100 parts of ownership, so I'd now own 10% of that company. Therefore, the amount that they decide to pay out in dividends from the profits, I'd be entitled to 10% of that amount. And the great thing about this is that once I've put in my money for the 10%, I don't have to do any more work. I just have to sit back and wait for my either annually or biannually payment of the dividend. And that's all I have to do. So what this means for your passive income is that if you learn to pick the right companies to buy ownership into, you can receive regular dividend payments without having to do any extra work. If you're interested in learning more about how to find and buy particular companies that will pay you good dividends and grow your passive income, then feel free to leave me a like and subscribe, because I've got way more investing videos planned where I'll explain in detail how to go about that process. Other than that, I really hope that you found this video useful, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.